How to incorporate vintage furniture for a timeless look in modern spaces. Incorporating vintage furniture into modern spaces can create a unique and timeless aesthetic that bridges the gap between different design eras. Vintage pieces not only add character but also tell a story, enhancing the overall ambience of your home. Here are effective strategies to blend vintage furniture seamlessly into contemporary interiors. Select vintage pieces that complement your style. When incorporating vintage furniture, it's essential to choose pieces that resonate with your personal style and the overall theme of your space. Look for items that have unique designs, textures, or colors that can serve as focal points or conversation starters. Whether it's a mid-century modern chair or an antique side table, selecting pieces that reflect your taste ensures a harmonious integration into your home. Mix vintage with modern furniture for balance. To achieve a balanced look, combine vintage furniture with modern elements. For instance, pair a vintage dining table with contemporary chairs or juxtapose an antique credenza against a sleek, minimalist wall. This mix of styles creates visual interest and prevents the space from feeling too dated or too contemporary. Aim for a cohesive color palette to tie the different elements together. Use vintage accessories to enhance modern spaces. In addition to larger furniture pieces, vintage accessories can enrich modern interiors. Consider incorporating items such as vintage vases, lamps, or artwork to add character without overwhelming the space. These smaller pieces can serve as subtle nods to vintage style while maintaining a fresh and modern feel. Grouping accessories in curated displays can also enhance visual appeal. Create a focal point with statement vintage furniture. Let a standout vintage piece become the focal point of your room. This could be a striking vintage sofa, an ornate coffee table, or a unique bookshelf. Surround it with more neutral, modern furnishings to ensure it draws attention without competing for the spotlight. This approach creates an inviting atmosphere and establishes a sense of history within the modern design. Emphasize textures and materials for depth. Vintage furniture often features rich textures and materials that add depth to a space. Incorporate pieces made from wood, leather, or fabric with intricate patterns. Mixing different textures can create a warm and inviting atmosphere, softening the sleekness of modern designs. Pay attention to the materials to ensure they complement the overall design and color scheme of your space. Consider the scale of vintage furniture for proportions. When integrating vintage furniture, consider the scale and proportions in relation to your modern pieces. Oversized vintage items can dominate a space if not balanced with appropriately sized contemporary furniture. Conversely, smaller vintage pieces can get lost in larger, open spaces. Measure and plan carefully to create a well-proportioned environment that feels cohesive and inviting. Incorporate vintage styles in accent pieces. If you're hesitant to commit to larger vintage furniture, start with accent pieces. Items such as vintage stools, side tables, or shelving units can easily introduce vintage flair without overwhelming your space. These accents can be easily swapped or rearranged, allowing you to experiment with different styles until you find the perfect balance. Revitalize vintage furniture with modern finishes. Give new life to vintage furniture by updating its finish. Painting or reupholstering vintage pieces can create a modern look while retaining their character. Choose colors or fabrics that align with contemporary design trends, but ensure they still resonate with the vintage feel. This approach maintains the charm of the original piece while making it more relevant to your current decor. Conclusion: achieving timelessness with vintage furniture. Incorporating vintage furniture into modern spaces creates a timeless and inviting atmosphere that reflects your unique style. By selecting complementary pieces, mixing styles, and focusing on texture and scale, you can achieve a harmonious blend that celebrates both vintage charm and contemporary aesthetics. Embrace the stories these pieces tell while enhancing your home's character and warmth.